A remote getaway, it's supposed to be an escape, right? A way to just leave the entire world behind. But what happens when you escape to something worse? We're diving into the story of the cabin intruder. And it's a chilling reminder that sometimes, the woods watch back. Think about it. What really happens when you leave all that noise of the city behind? When you find yourself in complete silence? What's waiting for you there? You might just find out that something's been there the whole time, just waiting for you to be quiet enough to notice. So our story, it starts pretty standard, 5 friends, they're looking for a spring break escape, and they find this place that looks absolutely perfect. A rustic cabin buried deep in the Nantahala National Forest in North Carolina. And the biggest selling point? No neighbors for miles, just complete, total isolation. But the reality of that isolation, well, it was way more intense than any picture on a website could ever show. As they drove down these endless twisting roads, they watched their cell service just vanish, bar by bar, until there was nothing, replaced by this really heavy, kind of unnerving silence. The cabin itself was practically being swallowed by the forest. And the owner, this wiry old guy named Silas, he hands them the keys, but he has this look in his eye, and he leaves them with one last piece of advice. He just looks at them and says, "Don't mind the woods. They got a way about them. Sometimes they watch back." And then he's just gone, leaving those words to just hang there in the thick, heavy air. Of course, the friends, they just laugh it off. The first night is exactly what you'd expect. Music, cards, some cheap beer. But later, after everything died down, and that absolute crushing quiet of the forest started pressing in from all sides, one of them was woken up by a sound. 4:15 a.m. I mean, that's the deepest part of the night, right? When the whole world just feels like it's holding its breath. The cabin is bathed in this faint, cold moonlight. And that's when a soft, persistent sound just cuts right through the silence. It's this soft, rhythmic tapping. At first, your brain tries to explain it away. Oh, it's a branch on the roof. But it wasn't. The sound was coming directly from the bedroom window. And the source? It was a single, impossibly thin, almost skeletal finger just tapping on the glass. So he looks into the darkness and he sees it. A face. It's pale, skin stretched so tight over a skeletal frame. But the eyes were just these wide, dark voids. They seemed to just suck in the light, reflecting absolutely nothing back. And the weirdest part? The moment his friend called out his name, the face didn't run. It didn't even flinch. It just vanished. Like the darkness itself just reclaimed it. So the next morning, you can imagine they're all hoping, praying it was just a nightmare. But that hope just vanished. Because right there in the damp dirt under the window were footprints. Bare, human footprints. But the real horror wasn't just that the visitor was real. No, it was the path he took. See, the footprints didn't just lead to the one window and then back into the woods. No way. They formed a complete, meticulous circle, all the way around the entire cabin. And there were clear pauses, deep prints, under every single window. It was so methodical, so predatory. And then the trail just led back to the tree line and disappeared, like whatever made them was just swallowed whole by the woods. Okay, so now they're terrified, but they're also stubborn, right? They don't want to abandon their whole trip, so they decide to lock every single door, every window, and they all crash together in the living room for safety. They thought they were safe. They were so wrong. Around 3:30 in the morning, one of the friends, Maya, wakes up thirsty. She tiptoes to the kitchen for some water, and that's when she just freezes. Because he wasn't outside anymore. He was inside. The barrier was broken, and he was in the cabin with them. there was a man standing in their kitchen, lit only by the moonlight coming through the window. He was completely naked. His pale back was facing them, and it was just this horrific canvas of deep, fresh scratches. But here's the thing. He wasn't moving. He was just staring at the closed refrigerator, like he was completely mesmerized by its low electric hum. Their terror was so deep, they couldn't even scream. In total, absolute silence, they grabbed their keys and just fled out the back door. As they're fumbling to get the car started, the narrator takes one last terrified look back. And the man, he's standing in the open doorway now, just a pale silhouette against the darkness of the cabin. He wasn't chasing, he was just watching them go. So they drive for what feels like an eternity, just tearing down that dark road until they finally find a gas station and call the sheriff. And when the deputy shows up, he just seems tired, almost bored, you know? He listens to their whole frantic, terrified story and doesn't even bother to write a single thing down. He just kind of sighs and says, "Yeah, we get calls like this sometimes. Folks go wandering too deep in those woods. Sometimes they get lost." And then he pauses, looks at them and says, "And sometimes something from the woods comes wandering out. Best you kids just head on home." That was it. No investigation, no alarm, just this strange acceptance. And that deputy's casual dismissal just leaves us with these deeply unnerving questions. What exactly was that thing in the cabin? Was it just a man driven mad by the isolation of the woods? Or was it something else entirely? And maybe the most unsettling question of all is, you have a house full of sleeping people to fixate on, right? So what in the world was so captivating about the inside of that fridge?